Hello, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We have the privilege of listening to Jasmina Cheeseman explain how she had her students utilize Canva and create pamphlets and infographics that they can use in their medical program. So, Jasmina, I'll let you go ahead and take it over.
All right, well, thank you so much. I'm excited to share about my project. So my goal was to leverage technology to help PAs improve their communication with patients. Specifically, I wanted to empower them with tools so that they could relay complex information in a timely manner, so that information is easy to understand for patients, as well as to overcome barriers such as illiteracy, or having patients that are non-English speaking. And so the way I was going to do this was by having them learn how to create infographics or pamphlets on certain common diseases. So the first thing I had to figure out is what platform to use to have them create this. And I thought about both Adobe Suite as well as Canva. And to me personally, I saw strengths in both, but to me, Canva just seemed super easy, very intuitive, so very user-friendly. And so I decided to give them both options. I exposed them to both and kind of show them the basics of both platforms and let them decide in groups whichever platform they felt more comfortable with. I also gave them a lecture on basic design concepts. So contrast, juxtaposition of images, color schemes, visual balance, very, very simple stuff so that even though they have templates and can use those templates within Canva, they're still able to apply these basic concepts in case they want to add some originality to their design. After that, I had them pick a complex disease, something that they're commonly going to encounter once they start seeing patients, and figure out a way how to break it down so that a child that's elementary school or middle school is able to understand it. And I actually had them fill out a sheet that confirms they took this disease and wrote about it and presented it to a child in the community, and that child signed off that the kid was able to understand this. It was easily understood, and that just confirms that irrelevant of the education level of their patient, they should be able to understand the content. So that worked out well. Now, once they have the language for the pamphlet, then they could insert it into the template, start their design. Now it was time for them to embellish that with images. They had two options. Those that were fairly comfortable with design, I exposed them to BioRender, which is a free service that is actually really, really cool. You can design images down to a molecular level. But at the same time, you don't have to make it super complex. You don't have to make it a, doctoral level physiology image, right? So you have the granularity if needed, but you can keep it simple for the patients too. Alternatively, they could just find an image or draw the image themselves and put it into the template. So once they had their final product, Next thing was to actually take that and translate it into at least 2 different languages. So probably the most commonly used tool out there is Google Translate. And I did list that as one of the options to them. But there was also DeepL, there is a Microsoft version of Translate. There's also Amazon Translate. So depending on, again, what technology they have and what technology is going to be available to them at their future place of employment, they have some options. And the beauty with these translation devices, not really devices, but is that they can use it real time. So if they are speaking with a patient, they can, take their phone, speak into it in English, and then it will translate into Spanish or whatever language you select. But they could also do it in written format for these pamphlets. So that's what they did. So the end result was for them to actually turn in 3 different pamphlets. And I suggested to them to pick languages based on minority groups that they would encounter, in the clinic. So here locally for us, that would be Spanish. We have a Burmese population, so I saw some translations into Burmese as well, and it was a lot of fun. So I would say that we definitely, met that goal of helping them communicate better with patient and hopefully easier, eliminating, the literacy issue, overcoming language barriers. But I think this will also help them with time. In patient encounters, you only have a certain amount of time. And if they have these prepared pamphlets that are, ready to go, then it helps them relate a large amount of information, complex information, in a faster way. And it gives the patient something to take home. It's overwhelming if you're a patient and you are given a brand new diagnosis. It's a lot of information coming your way, and it's kind of hard to remember everything. I have patients sometimes go to a specialist and then they, come back to me and they're like, I'm not really sure what happened. Like there was a lot that was said, but I don't know what the net result is. And so, again, one of the ways to overcome that is to give patients something to take home with them where they have that written down and they can look through it at a time when they are, their mind is more calm. And I'll show you now a few of those examples. I really, really enjoyed watching these. That was my favorite part, is actually having students present these. They acted this out. So one student would be a patient, one would be the provider, and they would take out this pamphlet and use it in their mock encounter. So the first one you hopefully see is on hepatitis. We're seeing a lot of that related to substance abuse. And so they did a really good job simplifying that information. And then here's the back side. Right? Now, an additional layer to this is PA advocacy. So in the state of Indiana, PAs are still not always recognized, and there's a lot of misunderstanding in the community who we are, what we can do. So I wanted them to insert a little blurb about PA's role. And so it's advocating for profession as well at the same time. So that was an additional layer there. And then here's the treatment. And then you can see the same pamphlet or infographic that they have translated into Spanish. The same information. They did a great job there. Right? And then one into French as well. Now I'll show you a different one. Here's one on Lyme disease. Again, they did a great job with colors and, having an actual tick image here, but still easy for patients to understand. Um, some good tips here for how to prevent this. And I've got a couple more. I'll show you one more. So here was an actual foldable pamphlet on melanoma. And then here is that same melanoma catering to our Burmese population. So yeah, those are some examples there. Now the last step, this was kind of frosting on the cake, if you will, is I had them take these and actually post them to social media. So a whole new layer to the project at that point. This just kind of, spontaneously occurred because nowadays everyone's on Facebook, everyone's on social media. So this was a great way for them to reach a much larger audience than just the patients they see. So it's playing along the tunes of public health in some way by providing this information. And at the same time, again, it is advocacy for them as PAs, showing their presence, showing how much we can contribute to patient care. And I actually had them track for 30 days how many likes and how many shares they got. And it was impressive at the end. I actually I had them turn in an Excel, which is free. Oh, there it is. And I'll go ahead and share my screen, but you can see just how many likes they each group got and how many shares. So here's my little Excel. So I'm getting the blue spinning wheel of death, but for example, just looking at one student, Grace, she had 346 views and 1 repost. The student above that, 120 views, student above that, 242 views. So I kind of thought of this as a larger impact of the project. So the students walked away with understanding Canva, being able to use it for better patient care, for self-advocacy, and they got to inform the community in a fun way about these diseases and how to prevent things. So I think overall it served its purpose, and I had a lot of fun. And I really did find Canva super easy to use. I liked the fact that multiple users could be working on the same design at the same time. So it lends itself nicely to collaboration and group projects, which is what we did here. So I'm happy to answer any questions at this point. Oh, I see a comment about, the aging population that can't hear. Yeah, absolutely. Giving them a visual is definitely going to help in those encounters, as well as, you're thinking about, again, memory impairment, having something that the patient can take home helps with retention as well.
Absolutely. That was me. I'm Erin. Hi, Jasmina. I think we've met, but yeah, it just blows my mind when my parents don't get anything after a visit. And sometimes they'll record visits now because they can't remember what was said. And part of it's that emotional, they're caught up in the moment. They just got some news. It's overwhelming, but also it's just regular. They can't remember, and they are definitely in denial about their hearing. So, not wanting to admit it, and I understand it. It's a pride issue a lot of times for a lot of people who are aging. I used to work in public libraries, and it's not just my parents. It's a lot of people who don't want to admit that they can't hear as well. And so having that written is so important.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I agree. And I worked with a lot of geriatric patients, so I absolutely
Mhm.
see um a lot of use here.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think this is such a great, I just think such a great use of the Canva, but just for what you're doing with your students and what they're doing for their patients, this is just excellent. Really think this is a, home run on this one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, the challenge always with our program is the time. You know, they have 111 credit hours for 25 months. So it is very, very busy for them. So we're kind of cognizant of what exercises we put him through, but I feel like this one's worthwhile for the patient care. Our goal is not just to, output people that can write prescriptions, but really think about how do you take care of your patient in a true way that's unique to them, irrelevant of the age or, their native language. So hopefully that a lot of them will take this to heart and will utilize it.
Yeah, and I love, and we had talked about this a little bit before the session, that you used a digital resource to have enable students to be able to do something they can use for their future. But I really enjoyed hearing that not only did you have them create it and then see the relevance of how it can help them in the future, but then have them take that extra step of putting it on social media. And then the icing on the cake was then seeing who that reached, like the numbers.
Yeah.
I think that just shows how powerful, just one project or one thing that we do in the classroom can really be reached and spread in a very fast and simple manner.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm a librarian, I also have to ask, so is there like a plan to keep these each time when you have students do this project again, to like kind of create a repository for your PA students to use past students' work?
Yes, yes, that's what I was thinking when I have kind of a collection. And I was thinking of even down the road piloting it with one of our clinical partners. So a place where they frequently have rotations year after year, have that place, start integrating that in their practice and see how it would work out. But I did want a little bit more. We're a class of 24. So, first time I have 6 pamphlets now, but after a few years, we'll have a nicer variety of topics that we can offer to our partners. And if you have any other suggestions of what I could do with this, I'm very open to it.
So anybody else have questions, comments? No? Well, then, Jasmina, if you feel like that's everything you had to share, or I'm sure if anybody has questions for her, you can reach out. But I again want to thank you so much for sharing this with us, because being able to utilize these tools is just such a wonderful thing that we can offer our students. So thanks for sharing how you were able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next Tech Talk next month. Thanks.